Hey guys, welcome back to Vinceville Custom. So today we got kind of a fun project. It actually sounds simple, but it's not as simple as long as you have the body to work with. So I'll explain that in a second. Somebody contacted me and they said they wanted to take their exclusive Dark Phoenix head and put this Wonder Woman premium format hair onto this like that. And they wanted to use this for their green version of Sideshow's Phoenix that they got in. And I thought it was a really cool idea and I was like, yeah, we could probably do that, no problem. But the only thing is, I need to have a body to work with. You can't actually say, okay, I'm going to send you this head, I'm going to send this hair, attach it, and send it back to me, because if I attach it, it looks good here, but if it's not working where this back is hitting the body, or this isn't hitting the body, because I gotta kind of drum out the head, so this is going to be pushed in a little bit more, it's not going to work too well. But I told him, I said it's good timing because I actually have this Dark Phoenix body right here that I'm working on custom for somebody. And I said, well, you know what? You don't need to send me the body. I have one here. So before I actually take this custom and actually do some custom work with this head and neck, I said, you know what? It's best to send me the head now. So this way I can put this head here, and then I can put this hair on here and make sure it's all flush and working, and then I could send it back to him. So it worked out pretty good where I didn't finish this custom yet because I still got some other stuff going on with it. And then this way he didn't actually have to spend the money to send me the whole box and the body and everything. And then we risk breaking the hands or the fingers and any of that stuff. So, you know, sometimes things work out when I work with on customs for people, and sometimes they don't. You need to have certain items and stuff. So this was a good timing project. So, you know, what I need to do is I need to get into the garage. I need to drum out this head a little bit. And then I might need to drum out some of this head a little bit. But not too much because I need to keep everything around. But I think it's going to work out pretty good is once we Dremel this out and we're able to push this in, it's going to be good. Now the only problem is now looking at this part over here, let's see if we can get a little bit closer for you guys. Alright, so as you can see, this part over here is already starting to hit this, but the hair, so it's like we have to kind of play with the hair a bit and everything. And we have to also be fragile because this Wonder Woman hair is very, very fragile. This stuff breaks very, very easily. I mean, it's a really great sculpt, but it's just the way the things it's designed. It should have been kind of like, the way it should have been is it should have been a resin solid piece, and all these other pieces should have been like, you know, PVCs glued into them. Some of them are, but they're still breakable and fragile. But what he wanted me to do is he sent me both heads, and he said for me to pick the best looking one. Now this one, he must have already took out the metal rod, or I must have broke out. This one, there's the metal rod is still in it. But this one still has a lot of good pieces, only one breakage. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm probably going to utilize this head. I'm going to go in the garage. I'm going to have to Dremel this out. I got to be careful not to snap any of these hair pieces while doing it. And then once I get all this out, I'll have the head in there with me. And then we could come back and we could start toying with this and everything. Some of you might be asking, why don't you just Dremel a hole here and then just have the metal rod going to it? This metal rod, I'm pretty sure, doesn't go that far in because I worked on one of these heads before. And you still need to Dremel out a lot of this in meat inside here so this will fit onto the head. Because if you look right here, you see the forehead's not hitting this flush. And I might have to Dremel out some of this here too. I'm not really sure yet because it all depends on how we get it. But I think when it's all said and done, this will look cool for the, you know, the green Phoenix statue that he has. It'll be a nice one of a kind and everything. So it should be a fun project. So I'm going to get into the garage today. I'm going to Dremel this out. We'll come back. We'll take a look on it to see how everything's fitting. And then from there, it's just a matter of getting some, you know, glue, magic sculpt, you know, getting this attached, letting it sit, and then seaming up everything and then repainting it all from scratch. And that's the other thing that's good about this project is Phoenix has no other skin on the body except the head. So you could get away with taking a head and painting it for somebody and then sending it back because you don't need to match like if a hand is showing or if like legs are showing or something like that. So it's kind of like a easy project if you have the body and you don't have to destroy it, and it works out pretty well on one end of the spectrum where you don't have to ship the body. So it should be pretty cool. So I'll get in the garage, I'll chop it up, and then we'll see how this is working out. Alright, so I went into the garage and I had to Dremel out some of this head, as you can see. But we're looking pretty good so far. And for the hair, I Dremel out, as you can see, around there. So I had to get in here a little bit, and I had to take this part over here because there's this like a big lump here hitting the back of the head. So now, when I put this on, we're looking pretty good, as you can see. If I leave it alone, it just kind of falls. I mean, this is kind of cool, like it kind of covers the hair, you know, in the face a little bit, but the problem is this line is completely awkward, but that's kind of a cool thing maybe down the line or something. But if we kind of play with it, we get it lined up pretty good, and I think it's going to look pretty good on this head. We're not hitting the back here at all the way this is going because it's more looking flowing, and that's actually good because I do know in the past sometimes if you get a head from a statue that you get in the mail, it fits good. Say you get a replacement. I've seen people that they take the head and they put it into the body, and it may be like it's sitting like this, you know, it's not sitting correctly, or maybe it's sitting at an angle, or maybe it just doesn't go in all the way, or maybe it goes in all the way, but it doesn't get that magnet feel, and it's very loose. I've seen other people where, you know, I've had people in the past send me a body and then a head from a, you know, maybe they got a third head from eBay and it's the same thing. It's like, you know, things just don't fit. So not every casting is the same because, you know, sometimes these castings expand and contract. The molds go to crap after time. So that's the thing to think about whenever you're doing this stuff. If you find a head off of eBay, it's not necessarily it's going to fit perfect. Most of the time they do, but you get that rare case every once in a while where these things just don't fit. But we're looking pretty good now. And I think it's going to go like that. But what I might do is, if I get a chance today, I think I'm going to strip the paint off this head. I'm going to take the paint off. I think just so for my curve, you know, like when I go to prime it up, it's not super thick with, you know, the factory paint, the factory primer, then my primer, then my paint. We lose detail. So I'm probably just going to dip it in acetone, take out the paint a little bit, let it dry up for a day or so. But I think it's going to look pretty good. I think we're going to get a nice, cool looking head here. I think it fits very well. Because the forehead would be about with that hairline, so we're looking good. I can't really push it down anymore. It's got to go like this pretty much, and I think that's going to. Let me give you guys a little bit of an angle. So I mean, if you look at the angle, it's a nice, good flowing hair. I'll probably send a picture to the client too before I actually attach anything to make sure he's good with it. I always like to make sure that whenever I'm doing something for someone, we're looking pretty good. But that's probably where we're at. And then once I get this paint off and he's pretty much happy with where it's going, we'll start attaching it. Alright guys, so I took down the paint, stripped it down with some acetone. I have a video of that on my channel on how I use acetone to strip off pre-painted polystone statues. And I mixed up some Magic Sculpt. Now Magic Sculpt you can get at Complete Sculptor. This is really good stuff for... I use this stuff more for like armature and attaching pieces. I don't use Aves for like the core stuff. So basically what I'm going to be using is I'm going to use this Magic Sculpt. I'm going to push it on top of the head and in the hair, and it's going to bond together. I don't sculpt with this stuff, so I use this stuff like, say if I break an arm and I have to use a pin to do it, I use Magic Sculpt. If I working on a garage kit or something and you have to put the two keys together with the pin, I use this stuff. This stuff cures in like about an hour, but I find it's very hard to sculpt with. It's just my personal preference. But I know a lot of people do use this for sculpting. They like this better than Abe. So it's always, you know, you always have to test things out. So what we're going to do now is we're pretty much set up. I talked to the client. I sent them some pictures. So we look like we're going to go like right about there. And we're not going to have any of the hair really touching on the back. It's going to be more of a flowing thing. So he's happy with that. That's what he wanted. So we just got to pretty much attach it now. So what I also did is on the back of the head, I did a lot of bit of chopping and a little bit of grinding. So it's kind of like it'll grab this stuff a little bit better. I think what I might do though is I might go in the garage and drill a couple holes, just so when I push the Magic Sculpt in, it kind of goes into those holes as well. The only other thing I might have to do is we're going to kind of test it out. Is I might add like a dab of glue up around the forehead area and then hit it with some zip kicker, so maybe just to kind of hold it while that sets. Once it all sets up and it's good, there's going to be a lot of gaps underneath here. So then once that's cured up, I'll go in with Aves and I'll fill in the hair and I'll cover all this stuff and clean this all up. So right now it's more or less we have to position the hair first, let it cure, let it be attached really, you know, really well. And then we go in there and we can do all the detailing work. Then we could prime it and we could paint it up and get it out there. Alright, so first test is we take some Magic Sculpt. We don't put it all on. We just kind of get it like that because I have a little bit left. And then we're going to test this first and we're going to see how well it fits. Alright, so we need a lot more So probably gonna have to put the whole thing on. I might have to mix up a little bit more. I try to not always mix up too much unless I'm working on a bunch of projects I need to make. But for this one, I just wanted to get this magic sculpt going, so this way near the end of the day I could kind of get it going. Alright, so we're looking. So then when I push it off, it looks like I'm going to need a little bit more just for like the back. So I'm going to stop the camera, mix up a little bit more, and we'll come back. So this is always about testing everything first just to make sure we're getting everything in there. And you never know, but I'm probably going to mix up a little bit more. I'll probably have to throw it in the back of the head. And then what I'll probably do is put a couple dabs of glue up around here maybe. And then when I put it on there, I can hit it with the zip kicker and it could kind of hold it. I got to kind of play with it while I'm looking at it, so I'm just giving you guys an idea of how this works. Alright, so we got it mixed up and I threw it up in the back there, so I think we're looking pretty good now. After kind of looking at it a little bit more, I might not put magic sculpt, any kind of glue here. I might attach the head and I might squeeze glue in between and then zip kick it to let it cure. So let's kind of see where we're at here. Maybe this is a little too much. Now we're looking. Alright, so need to kind of push this in a little bit. Alright, so when you squeeze it in, you can see there's a little bit of buildup going around there. So what you want to do is, if you have some kind of a tool, get in here and pull some of that out. It's going to get filled in and nice and cleaned up. We just need to get most of it out now. You can use a paintbrush, which I will do in a second. Any little stuff that I squeeze out, though, pull out, you want to keep it because you can still use it. Alright, so I have a paintbrush here, and then what I'll do is I'll kind of go in, kind of get this stuff around. Yeah, so there was a huge gap between these two, so I really needed to kind of fill it in. Alright. Yeah, I might not need any glue. This looks like it might hold the head when I don't have it sitting in the statue. I think we're looking pretty good so far. So let's sit down, make sure everything's even. Alright, so lining up pretty good. Might need to come down a little bit. Sorry, off camera I'm squeezing it, and a lot of the magic sculpt was kind of squeezing around, but that's alright. I don't want to break the neck on the statue. That's the problem. But we're looking, looks like we got to come in. Maybe I put too much in, I don't know. No, it's just that I have to. Alright, so you can kind of see it's starting to squeeze out a lot more around there. Sorry, I'm trying to do this. I'm going to still sculpt hair, but we got to. Alright, you can kind of see what's going on there, but we really need to make sure that this is lining up. And that's pretty much where it should be, almost. I gotta keep playing with it. I just gotta come down more. Yes, I definitely put a lot of magic sculpt because the more and more I squeeze, the more and more it comes out. So I gotta kind of cut some more of this out of here. What did I do with my tool? Put it somewhere. We'll use this one. Alright, so you can see I'm starting to squeeze out a lot more. rather use the Magic Sculpt, let it cure, and have a gap here, and then seam it up with Aves, than to try to force sculpting with the Magic Sculpt. But this Magic Sculpt cures so hard that it'd be almost impossible to break this back out of the head once it's cured. That's why I like Magic Sculpt for using it to put kits together. Like all the limbs and arms and heads and stuff like that. I mean, Aves and does the same thing, but with Aves, I feel I can sculpt better. I want to show some of the bottom of the ear. Don't want to cover all that up. Okay, let's see how this is looking. Yep, that's pretty much where we wanted it, so we're getting there, as you can see. It looks weird at the point underneath the hair because there's such a gap, but that's going to be all seamed up. We want to make sure we're looking good, we got the flow. Alright. Alright, so it's going to be kind of hard. I got to get in closer in a little bit, but I'm going to kind of pull out a little bit more, and then once I think we're pretty much good, we'll come back and I'll show you. Okay, so I pretty much got it to where I want. I cleaned up a lot of the Magic Sculpt around the area. I just made sure there's nothing on the face and everything. So I'm going to let it sit like this for a while, for about I would say about a half hour or so, just to let it set. I'm not going to leave it on the statue though, because if I leave it on here, the hair will start pulling down because it is top heavy over on this side. I'm going to just like let it sit like this on the shelf for a while and just let it cure up. Once it starts getting a little bit tougher and harder, then I can put it back on the statue just to make sure I'm still lined up correctly. I don't want it to like say, okay, I let this sit, and then all of a sudden I go back like 5 hours later and all of a sudden it cured correctly wrong, you know, all wrong, and you got to chop it out and everything. So we don't want to go to that point. We pretty much want to just get it lined up, let it cure, and then mess with it later. So I'll put this on the shelf, let it cure, and then if everything's looking good in about an hour or so, we'll come back and I'll show you, and then we can start seaming it up later on tonight, hopefully. Alright, so it's been about an hour or so, and it's curing up pretty well, so it's looking pretty good. So basically, I guess maybe later on tonight, if I get a chance, I'll pop out some Aves and I'll work on it. If I don't get a chance today, I'll work on it the next day. But as of right now, we're looking pretty good. I want to make sure, though, that whatever I do in the back of the head, make sure it goes into the body flush. I don't want to just actually start sculpting back here and filling any of this up, and then all of a sudden I go to put it on later and it's hitting the back of the thing and the head's not going in all the way, like it's getting pushed forward or something. So I got to make sure that's all good, because I want to get this pretty much set up and ready for paint so I can finish customizing the statue for someone else. But I just want to get this head set up. So I think it's looking pretty good. I think this is going to turn out really well. It looks a little weird under here only because there is a gap, but I had no choice. I have to make some kind of a gap there to fit that for, you know, in there. But I'll be blending the, you know, some bangs in with the hair, so it's going to come together pretty well. So it's going to be a kind of a cool custom. I think this will look really good on the Green Phoenix from Sideshow. I don't have the statue in hand, so, you know, I don't know if maybe I can actually get this out to the client, then send me a picture, and then I can put it in the video, post the video afterwards, so we'll see what happens. But I think it's going to look pretty cool. Alright guys, so I'm going to start sculpting out the hair and kind of cleaning up all the edges. Now, I realized too when I put this statue on, there's like this little notch back here, as you can see, like where my finger goes. That's where the spear would go for when you put this hair, you know, on the Wonder Woman premium format. So that's got to be filled in, otherwise it kind of looks a little funny. So I did mix up some Aves Fix-It Sculpt, and this is the Aves Fix-It Sculpt. Now I use Aves Fix-It Sculpt for hair. I find that it's easier to work with hair because once you start mixing it up right away, it's very soft like regular Aves. But over time, as you're working on it, like in like a half hour, hour and a half, 2 hours, it really starting to stiff up, and you can really start getting a lot of detailing work out of it. I don't know, for me, I like it. Other people say they don't like it. They're like regular Aves, so, you know, so I got Aves Fix-It Sculpt, regular Aves, and then Magic Sculpt. So I got 3 different things for different parts of a project. So this is what I use for hair mostly only, and it just works for me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start putting in the A's, and I'm going to start filling this in and stuff. I got the statue over there just to make sure I can put the head in and out to make sure I'm not, messing up. Because you can actually start going crazy over here with hair, and then all of a sudden when you put it on, it smushes all over or it gets caught underneath the neck, and that's what we don't want to do. So, but the main thing first is I'm going to do all the stuff up here first, get all this kind of cleaned up and evened out, and then that's it. Alright, so pretty much filled in all the gaps under here. I filled up around here with the bangs because it was just way too of a gap up there, so I had to kind of get in between there and these bangs, which is a little difficult, and then I filled out around in here as well. And I also had to fill out over under in here where this little notch was, so I kind of built out a little bit of a extra wave of hair going under there. It just made it look right because there was like this weird gap over there, so I had to fill that in. But everything is looking pretty good and looking pretty set. It may look a little weird because you're seeing a color and then a white, and I tried to kind of match the hair as best as I could, but it's a little bit difficult because there's like, this just almost could be like a 3D sculpted hair. I'm not really sure. So I try to get like those little hatch marks in there as best as I could. But I think once I paint it up in the red hair and everything, it'll come together. But that's where we're at right now. So once this cures up, I sand it down and prime, we can get it all painted up. Alright, so today I had a chance to prime it down, and what I need to do is just go over it a little bit more with sanding in case I got any residue from the Aves on the face. Usually I'm able to find that whenever I do a base coat of skin tone, and I use Garage Kit Flesh skin tone. So what I'll do is I'll probably just do a nice coat of this, get it all over the face, let it dry, and then in like the light, turning it in different angles, I'll see if there's any kind of residues or build up someplace I need to sand. Because even though you prime it up, sometimes you still miss it, and you adding a color of like flesh tone or anything else, you can start to see some mistakes you might not have seen before. So I'll do that, and then after that, it's just starting ready to paint it up. Okay, so I went ahead and I did a lot of the face already, only because this is detailing work and it's really hard to film it. But what I did is I did my base coat in skin tone, I sanded down some areas, I detailed up the skin, worked out the lips. The client wants some nice natural skin lips on it, worked out the eyes. I like to do eyes first and then do all the skin tone with the decals, but lately I've been doing the skin tone and then kind of just slowly brushing in the eyes, the whites, and I've been using like a pearl in there too as well to get it smooth, and then I do the eyes last. It seems like now that I got to do the eyes last compared to what I like to do in the first, only because stuff's getting smaller and the decals are not working that way. Plus sometimes putting silly putty over the eyes when you do it first and you pull it up, it might pull out the decals. So this is where I'm at now. Camera might show it a little bit orangey, but it's not. It's the studio lights. I have a lot of studio lights, so whenever I take pictures and videos, you don't really actually see the true color. Usually the final video at the end, hopefully in the photo studio, shows a little bit better. But that's where I'm at now. So pretty much next step is send these pictures to the client, see what he says. If he's good with it, what I could do is I seal up the face. I like to do a clear coat of this car duplicate color paint on it. It really shines up the head, but I can dull it down afterwards, and then it really protects it, only because this paint can be scratchable, so I like to really seal it. And then as far as the hair, we'll kind of come back to that. It's going to be simple. Paint it jet black and then maybe do some dry brushing or some kind of like a blue on there just to give it a little bit of a blue tint, but nothing too overpowering. That's pretty much how she's drawn in the comics, so I'll follow that. Unless the client just wants straight black, I'll see what he says. But there you go. That's where we're at so far. We'll come back, we'll finish her up, and then get her out there. Alright guys, so I'm working on the Phoenix hair. I'm doing some tests, but I was sent this picture. The guy that wants me to do this kind of wanted to do something like this hair. So I'm going to see if I could get it as close as possible, but I might have to throw a little bit red in it anyway, because it might just come out looking like orange. And even though this is kind of like the hair color, it might not work well, but we'll see. Let me get set up over on the painting booth. Alright, so I'm doing some testing here, and you see I'm just doing some blending of trying to, you know, I'm looking at the picture on the other side, and I'm looking at this. I'm getting close to it, but it might not work too well, so I'm still going to have to throw some red in there, but I'll try to keep it like a little bit of the orange look to it, and then I'll take pictures, send it to the client, see what he says. Maybe he likes it, maybe he wants to go more red. I don't know. It's just one of these things where redhead painting is kind of difficult because, you know, with a 2D painting, you get away with it because you can force the colors where you need to, whereas a 3D image, you know, if you throw too much yellow, the light brings it out and it might look orange. If you throw too much red, it might just look red. So it's kind of like, I don't know, we'll see. But I'm kind of toying with it. Once I start to figure out what color I'm liking and going, we'll come back. But right now, it's just a matter of blending and just trying different colors, seeing what mixtures work. Alright, so as I'm painting this, I kind of did my whole blending with this orange and dark browns and stuff. But it still feels a little too yellowish. So what I'm doing is I'm doing some misting of transparent true red from Garage Kits over it, so I'm giving it a little bit more of a redhead but still keeping that orange look. I'm not as close to that picture as possible because this right here just looks very off, but this kind of feels a little bit better for a fiery redhead. So I'm going to just keep doing a little bit more of this transparency red over here, take some pictures, and then we'll see how things look. Okay guys, so we are all done. After doing some Photoshop work for the client, I did like yellow eyes of the yellow decals. I did a Photoshop of the green eyes, and I did a Photoshop of just like glowing yellow eyes, and then we left it white because he wasn't really sure what he wanted. Because, you know, sometimes when you paint up stuff, things change and you might want to try different things than what you first thought about. So after I did all that work on Photoshop, he decided he wanted to go with the green eyes, so it worked out pretty good. So with eye decals, it's always better to do a Photoshop idea of what it might look like than to actually do the eyes and then repaint it and then do the eyes again, because by that time everything gets caked up and you lose that whole detail in the eyes. So you got to kind of, if you can use Photoshop, it kind of works to your advantage. So he's happy with the way everything came out. Everything's looking pretty good. So right now I am packing her up. So this gives you guys an idea that sometimes you can take hair from one statue and put it onto another head and it'll look pretty cool. As I'm making this video, what I'm going to do is I will be packing this up and I'm sending it out to the client, and I'm asking him to send me some pictures, and then when he sends me the pictures, I'll finish up the video. So it's kind of like I won't have this item for like maybe a week or two before I can actually get the video up, but at least it gives you guys an idea of what it's going to look like on the green version of Phoenix. So thanks for watching, and we'll be back with some more videos.